So today's video is going to be a little bit different than my usual content, but I think it's a really important video to make. And this video is all about my experiences with injuries from playing the guitar and how you can kind of best avoid them. So let me take you back to the last year of my jazz degree. So this was my 4th year. I was playing a ton of guitar. And then while I was doing this degree, I of course had to pay for my tuition and my rent because I did my degree in a different city than I originally grew up, where my parents were. So I was working as a barista, and I loved that job, but the combination between playing the guitar for 6-ish hours a day and then working with my hands 8 hours on 3 to 4 days a week as a barista was a pretty good way to kind of, very, very much upset the muscles and tendons in my forearms. And I ended up getting this really, really weird injury where it essentially felt like in both hands, when you go outside and it's cold, it's really cold, and then you come in and your hands are kind of slow to respond. That happened to both of my hands, but it was permanent. It always kind of felt like that. And I spent a good probably 8 months trying to work my way slowly through that. I went to see multiple physiotherapists. I went to see hand specialists. I got my nerves scanned, which fortunately there was no permanent nerve damage or anything there. I got x-rays. I did all of these things. And we never actually figured out what was causing it, which is scary. I still don't necessarily love that I don't know why it happened. But the nice kind of thing about this injury, if there were to be a silver lining to it, is that I did a lot of reading on how the body works. I did a lot of study of Alexander technique and a bunch of other things that you can do to kind of, it's like preventative maintenance so that you don't get injuries. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned with you so that you can hopefully avoid injury in your own life, because there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to play the guitar, or not having to seriously watch how much you're playing the guitar for a period of months like I did. So one of the first things that I always bring up with my students is that when we learn to play the guitar, everything is very hard. And that tends to lead us to want to press way, way, way too hard with our left hand. And then some of us, like I started playing the guitar. I got my first guitar for my 9th birthday. So I physically had to squeeze the guitar. Like, it needed all of my 9-year-old strength to make chords ring out and do those things. So I think I habitually practiced with way too much tension and way too much pressure in my left hand. So one really good thing that you can do to kind of test this out is take something that you know really well. Maybe for me it's a major scale. That's what I always come back to. And what I would do is I would play the scale just like normal. And then I'd say to myself, okay, can I do that using 30% less pressure with my left hand? I can. Can I do it with 30% less pressure than that? I can. So on and so forth. And you just see how light you can get it. Because when we're first starting out, our fingers are doing these funny shapes that we don't know how to do, and we tend to squeeze harder than we need to. In my experience, finger placement is significantly more important than the force that we actually exert with our hand. So I always recommend my students to kind of cut their fret in half, and you want to be on the upper end of that fret. And by doing that and checking in with yourself, are you playing way, way, way too hard? It can help you slowly work down if you think about, okay, just use a little bit less pressure. And the wonderful thing that happens there is that a lot of my students find that they can play faster and cleaner when they do this. Because when we squeeze too hard, it comes from a good place. We want things to feel super solid and we want them to feel comfortable. And like they're sturdy. But when we apply more force than we need to, it's essentially like we're running a race, but we're stomping every single step. We're never going to be as fast as we can if we're stomping and planting ourselves unnecessarily. So that's a wonderful thing to think about. Now, the second kind of big thing that I've implemented is back at the time when I got injured, I used to play guitar for 6 to 8 hours a day. I still probably play the guitar 6 hours a day, which is a lot of guitar, and it's a lot of repetitive stress on your hands. So one thing that I got really, really into is trying to really be aware of my posture when I play, because the guitar is a really funny instrument ergonomically. We got one arm cranked over this way, the other one here. We tend to play sitting down or standing up, and no matter what we do, the guitar has this kind of gravitational pull that'll suck us down. And when we hunch our shoulders, we compress all of the muscles and nerves that are responsible for moving our hands. So we're making our job harder while we do that. So while I still definitely do some marathon practice sessions where I'll play for an hour to 2.5, 3 hours straight, what I always make sure I do is I try every 15 minutes to just take a mental check-in. Am I hunched? Am I doing bad things? And whenever I do this check-in, I just kind of take the guitar, I roll back, chest up, shoulders back, and I just kind of readjust. And sometimes I'll find if I was practicing something, after I've straightened myself out and I've adjusted, I've got a strong core supporting me again, and everything's open and free. Sometimes I'll have been struggling to play something, and then after I sit up and check in, I can play it perfectly because now I'm no longer hurting myself with my posture. So that's a really, really big thing that I've found. And again, it's something that you can try to be aware of while you're practicing as well. You can try to kind of hone in on what your body's doing and get comfortable playing in a better, taller posture with relaxed shoulders and all of that good stuff. Now, the third thing that I've started doing a lot is this kind of happened when I studied Alexander technique. And it's just this kind of, it goes along with the last one of being aware of your posture. I've also implemented a bunch of stretches into my daily routine. So before I go to bed, before I brush my teeth actually tends to be when I do this, I'll do some good stretches here where again, when you're stretching, you don't want to pull too hard. You want to feel it stretch, but you don't want to be too hard. I'll do this. I'll do the same thing, but in reverse. So now I'm stretching these guys. I'll do pull the shoulder back and palm on the shoulder. Pull your elbow to the side and you're trying to cup your shoulder. Again, both sides. Do some arm circles. And then a couple of these guys, just doing stretches. It seems really silly, but I swear to God, it will make your life better and you'll feel better after you've stretched out your whole body, and you'll just notice that you're a little bit less tense and tight. And then the last kind of thing that I'd recommend, in whatever way that you can find to incorporate this, because everybody's got different bodies and everybody's got different limits, but one of the big things that I did to overcome this weakness, that in theory we think that what happened to me was, we would call it tendinopathy, which is a chronic issue with your tendons where they're overworked and they don't want to do their job. So one way that we combated this was by doing some strength training, and that is something that I've carried on through my life. So every other day I lift weights and I try to focus on having, strong neck, shoulders, and arms. And again, you can do this in whatever way you like. You can do dumbbells, which I really liked. That's what I do every other day now in my kind of circuit. You can do push-ups. You can do planks. I also do quite a lot of planks. But just trying to focus on keeping these... You don't want to do it so hard that you hurt yourself from doing resistance training, of course. But generally keeping these muscles that are so important for us to play guitar well engaged and well taken care of in other physical activity is something that I've found has really kind of supported my stamina for being able to play the guitar for longer and do all of these wonderful things. So I hope this video helped you and gave you some thoughts on things you can do to avoid injury while playing the guitar. If you have any things that you've experienced, if you've experienced injuries before, if you've done things to kind of prevent it, like Alexander technique, I don't want to go on a huge spiel about it because I'm not a teacher, but if you want to read on it, there's a lot of great books out there, and there's also great teachers all across, at least where I am in North America. We have teachers all over the place, and there's nowadays you can take Alexander lessons online. I really recommend looking into it as a holistic way to kind of make sure that your body's taken care of and is okay. But I hope you found the video useful or inspiring. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It truly helps me out more than you could know. If If you want to take a guitar lesson with me, I've got a link to that down in the description as well. I've been working with a bunch of you from YouTube lately, and it's been so fun to connect with people all over the world. If you want to support me and these free educational videos that I put out every week, you can subscribe to my Patreon down below. There's a $5 a month tier and a $10 a month tier. If you do the $5 tier, you get early access to videos. And if you do the $10 tier, you get to vote on a custom video that's only viewable to the $10 patrons. So that's a great way to support me. If you wanted to support me another way, you could also purchase my ebook full of scale and arpeggio diagrams, or my video course all about triads. That is available down in the description as well. And last but not least, I've got at least 2 new videos coming out every single week. I hope I'll see you in the next one. And until I do, I'll wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you get to have some fun playing the guitar.